Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 72 of Behind the Camera with Andy Games, the podcast where we shine a light on the storytellers, the creatives, and the voices behind the camera. In this special edition of Behind the Camera, I'm joined by Janaé Rachel Ballot. Janaé takes us behind the scenes of how her debut feature film, Dissociated Me, came to fruition. The writing, the challenges, the breakthroughs, and the moment she realized this story needed to be told. If you're enjoying the podcast and want to stay connected, all of my links are in the About section, from socials, merch, website, and much more. Hitting follow, sharing the show, or leaving a quick rating really helps Behind the Camera grow. Now, here's the interview. Janaé, welcome to Behind the Camera with Andy Games. Absolute pleasure to have you on the show. How are we doing?
Oh, we're bringing the crazy out. We just talked about that. Yeah. We're talking about, I think that you just saw Dissociated Me.
I did.
My film, yes.
Absolutely incredible film. Absolutely incredible. It was an absolute honor to actually watch it when I did. So thank you for that. It was incredible. It was really sort of a lot of raw emotion and a lot of themes, which I'm very excited to chat to you about tonight. So yeah, let's talk about Dissociated Me. So it started out as a biopic of your life and then almost kind of blurred the lines between a making of almost. So yeah, talk to us about the sort of process of the film.
Well, it was 3 years ago that Elizabeth Ronald's daughter, who's in the film and produced the film and has edited all these amazing films like John Wick and Atomic Blonde and Bullet Train, and has been a great friend of mine for years now. She took me to lunch, and we were having lunch at Mel's Diner, which is like this very touristy spot in Hollywood. And we're playing tourist for the day, having this adventure in Hollywood or Hollyweird. And she looks at me and she says, "So what are you doing with your life?" And I went, and she's like, "What project are you working on next?" And I thought she had said, "What are you doing with your life?" But I guess, when you hear that question, it can kind of be the same. It can kind of, have the same connotation. But I said to her, I was like, I need to go back into features and to an actual feature, because I had been writing, directing short films and producing them and music videos for like Jason Mraz and Common. And they were all, it was a great experience, but it just, my family grew up in the entertainment industry, or I grew up in like an entertainment, family. And my grandfather like worked with Orson Welles and all this kind of stuff. And my dad ingrained in me just like never settle. My sister did, never settle. And it's just like, no, I don't want that. But sitting across from her, I was like, I do need to go back to features. And I had developed features and that's a grueling process, as anybody in development knows, like, securing a package and financing, getting that on board and everything like that. And but yeah, and I was like, I just need to know what the story is first, because the story is always the most important thing to me. And what are we saying to the audience? What are we telling them? And I'm thinking, and she just goes, "What about a movie based on your life?" And I, thinking about it now, I'm close to dissociating. I'm not even kidding. Because kids today, they do actually, I just saw this. This is a tangent. I'll have many of them. Don't worry.
No, that's what it's all about here. So don't worry.
Yeah. But they say stuff like, I zone out and I just love dissociating when I just like I zone I just what do you do to relax?
Mm-hmm.
I just zone out and dissociate. It's like, what the heck? And it's like, we totally trauma bonded over this thing. Like, oh wow, okay. Look, I'm not a psychiatrist, but Yeah, I just have them. But anyway, so yeah, so I told her, how much have I told you about myself for you to confidently say that? Because she never says anything without, meaning. She doesn't really mince words. She
Yeah.
doesn't, such a generous and amazing person, but she's a real artist and a very serious one. And so she looked at me with like this sly smile and said, "You're not as mysterious as you think." And I was like, oh, crap. Because I thought all of that baggage, I was able to, present myself in such a way.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit like Audrey Hepburn. But yeah, so we started talking and I was like, so what would this even look like? And she's like, well, the Beverly Hills, you lived in Beverly Hills as a kid, you grew up there, and how your dad was cooking DMT in like a Beverly Hills mansion and there was rats in like the ceiling, and how your mother died at 12 years old. I mean, these are all like, this is like I'm like a coming of age story. And she's like, yeah, and how glamorous it is on the outside, but really inside there's this dysfunction. And she's like, I want to see that. I want to see like that, I guess that dichotomy and play out, or that contrast or contradiction, whatever. And she was on board to produce. And I went, okay, well, I've written biopics before. I've, produced them in development, specifically like an Anthony Perkins biopic. And I thought, I'm the source. I can do this. I'm super scared, empowered, validated, and all of these things. And especially with someone like her, a great friend. And, it was like a journey was just set in motion. And interestingly enough, I have heard that before. Why don't you make a movie about your life? Why are you messing
Mhm.
around like with different biopics and other people's true stories? Why don't you, the ticket is you, Janaé, and your mom and your sister and your dad. And you're the one, you're the writer, you're only writer of the family, so you have to do it.
And like, was there a sort of a bit of a shock there for yourself whenever, being such a young age, being asked why not make a movie about your life, like a biopic about you at at a young age, like, because obviously it's not kind of something you would hear from for somebody in their 20s to be like, there's a biopic.
Um, from Elizabeth, you mean?
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I mean, I was 27, and that is very young. It was more of a shock in terms of, honestly, my mind just went to two things. I wanted to write and direct a feature film, my debut, because at that time in my life, I could not envision doing anything else. It wasn't to be strategic about my career trajectory or anything like that. It was very personal. It was something that I felt I needed to get something out of me. And if I didn't get it out of me, it was something has to come out. What that was, I didn't know until she actually suggested this idea. And that felt like confirmation of like, oh crap, people have said this before.
Yeah.
Now she's saying it. And it just feels like it's circling back around. So here's your moment. You got that, like that motivation, you got that feel like you can't turn back if unless you do this. Well, there's your idea. And so it felt scary. It felt all the different types of emotions, but mainly it felt like you're going to go into this really with all of the faith and the fire and fuel that you've had. But like, I forgot your question. um uh yeah, I mean, look, Carrie Fisher said it best. I just reference other people when I forgot my train of thought. She said, if my life wasn't funny, it would just be true, and that to me is unacceptable.
Mhm.
So I personally, Elizabeth and people who are very, very close to me, they know my life story, my, being such a young age, I've heard a lot of people say, like, for instance, and this is depicted in the film, but when I've gone like, no, I was addicted to heroin. I was a recovering heroin addict at 15 to 16. I detoxed on my own and didn't go to deep any, rehab or anything. My father really instilled in me, you need to learn your body. And so I gotten a lot of, uh, you? No, no, you, I would have never have guessed.
Mm.
And over time, like I would hear a lot of different things of like growing up in Beverly Hills and a gun going off, like being shot, like in the film, by my ex stepmother, and how she almost killed me. Like, oh, these are such great stories. These are amazing stories. They should go into a movie, or that's so tragic, or that's so devastating. And it's just like, you obviously it is traumatic, but it's just, how do I put this? It's like a photo album in some way. You
Yeah.
kind of look back. Yeah, you don't, if you have all of this stuff, I don't look at it as baggage, but it's just there's so many chapters.
Yeah.
And it's just it's my life, and other people can perceive these wild stories, good and bad, as that's insane. Are you okay? Or they can perceive it in a different way. But I look at it through a completely different lens. Some departments need to be more accepting of them, but I saw that a lot of what I had lived through was universal. Like losing my mom at 12, a lot of people have unfortunately lost somebody that they loved, even if that's a pet. I
Yeah.
don't care who it is, like it could be anybody. Hopefully, it's not like a parasocial relationship with a celebrity and they're like mourning their, shrine over the death of a. I don't know what I'm talking about. How? Yeah. Um, and it's just it. So we found those universal truths. But the thing is that when I went to go write the biopic, I couldn't write, like, I was having the most vivid flashbacks, and I was having dissociative episodes that were so strong that and I don't have like every day a flashback or an anxiety attack or anything like that. So I was clearly being triggered by what I was writing.
Yeah.
And I couldn't finish a first draft. But I did call up all the actors I've worked with. I did say to them, hey, we're making a feature. I'm writing, I'm going to direct it. I want you in it. Oh, great. Where's the script? I want to read it. I'm working on it. It's going to be ready in a few weeks. Don't worry. And they're like, oh, this sounds fantastic. I'm like, yeah. And Elizabeth's on board to produce it too. So this is going to be great. And it's a story about my life. So this is going to be really interesting. I would talk to Devin Brochu, who starred in like a great movie called Hesher about grief. And Bradley James Holzer and Ali Dwyer and my sister Savannah Ballo and Matthew Manelli. And yeah, and they were like, this sounds great. And eventually I was so blocked that even though like I tried every single day, which is like the definition of insanity, because I ended up with, no first draft. I was so blocked with everything that I didn't know what I was doing. And I remember just sitting down and going, forget it. This is it. Like I that feeling of needing to get something out was still there. And so we started shooting without a script. And everybody was very confused at first, rightfully so, because I was just like, don't just, you got to trust me. I do everything. I kept saying everything will make sense in the end. So yeah, we started shooting without a script, and I would conjure up just enough like scenes and outlines and like, beat sheets of like hit this beat and let's do something here and here to kind of give it some structure and not veer off into experimental or anything, because we were still trying to, as a director, I still wanted to capture, you know, my life
Yeah.
and, you know, a story for an audience, um, which all falls into the edit, which a lot of that credit goes to Yu Jung Ho. But then something happened. I got hit by a car going 35 miles per hour while crossing the street. And in recovery, I started to look at that footage. And I was like, okay, maybe that footage meaning that my DP, who's a producer and actor in it, Matthew Minnelli, he filmed me while in the hospital, like 6 hours after I got hit by the car.
Yeah.
And or actually it was like 3. And you know what he told me? He said, I made sure that you were okay first. Like for the first 3 minutes I walked in, she all right? Yeah, she's fine. Okay, cool. And he pulls out his phone and he starts recording.
You know, that
I,
was like one of like the things I loved about the movie was like you've got Matthew who is like filming every waking moment of it, and you can really see the sort of the trajectory across the whole film. You know, when you know, to go back to what you said about you're having the flashbacks and you have people who are saying these would make great stories, and
yeah,
you can really sort of see that in the film with your cast. Like everyone has their characters, they're really kind of method acting their characters at particular moments, and obviously you're getting hounded for a script, and
yeah,
but
yeah.
then on the flip side of that, you're the one reliving those memories but unsure how to kind of face it or even where to start the movie. And you can see over the course of the film, this is what I thought was one of the more powerful things about it was, you know, every so often you would say, look, I'm about to disassociate here, I'm gonna just take a
Yeah.
walk, and like in terms of like again, sorry, this is what kind of like blurred the lines between, was this like a behind the scenes just turned into a movie, or that's just one of the things I just sort of I thought was one of the most engaging things about it. And was
You're
that one of the things about it being filmed without a script almost?
oh, you're saying like not being able to decipher what's real and what's not.
Yes.
Yeah. That wasn't intentional.
Okay.
So because the majority of the film is real.
Yeah.
It and that's the film is essentially called a hybrid, part, you know, documentary, part narrative, and it has a feel of a movie. At least like when you're watching it, it has somewhat like more of like the structure of is leans more narrative, in my opinion, at least. But that's just because of what we did in the edit. We
Yeah.
shot like well into editing. Like we're still filming while we're editing. And I was always wondering because I would always say to like the actors or I would say, and the actors are actors, like they are legitimate actors,
Yeah.
but they are playing, they are being themselves. And like, for instance, uh, Bradley James Holzer. He's 40. He was 40 years old, and he plays my father in the film, but he also is himself in the film too. And uh, Bradley, he's going through an existential crisis, and at 40, that was real.
Yeah.
That was all real. Bradley was the one who was like kind of in the same vein of what I was feeling. He's like, I'm going through something, I want to use it. Yeah, turn that camera on to me. And I mean, I asked him before, I'm like, would you want to actually, you know, do something with what you're going through? And he was like, yes. Yes, I want, and he sent me voice memos upon voice memos of just like all of his insecurities and telling me if you share this with anyone, I will like, and I'm like, I'm not gonna do anything. But yeah, and there's so many different, so many unscripted moments. And that is interesting in itself because you go out wanting to, I'm a filmmaker, I'm a writer, and you know, you want to go out and do something that's structured and do something that has it's not so um I'll put it this way. It's really surprising to see that the final product is a product of legitimately seeing my life
Mm.
and experiences of my life rather than anything that's been heavily constructed or, written and dialogued out. And so that's interesting to me because looking back, it's a very I set out to make a biopic based on my life, and that would have been like 100 and 15, maybe 20 page feature screenplay and go through that. But rather, it's kind of like a living document, a breathing document of all these people's lives too, and like Bradley's. And you get a glimpse into Elizabeth and
Yeah.
Matthew and Savannah's, and even my nephew is in it. So it's it's certainly interesting. It was, but no, there was no like we're going to try to make the audience go, what's real, what isn't real. That's not the kind of deception that we want to
Hmm.
pull. We wanted to just depict, honestly, in the end, truth and make it honest, but engaging. I mean, you gotta, because so many people can aim for just raw truth, and then it kind of becomes like, what do I do with this?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
of course. And engaging was definitely the right word for it, because like I knew whenever, as the sort of movie played out, I was just kind of like wanting to see sort of how it sort of developed. But then at what point then did the biopic itself, the planned original product, become Dissociated Me, with the final product?
That's a good question. I would say 2 years ago, because we were filming, Matthew and I were filming a lot after I said, let's start filming without no script. We were filming for a good while, and a lot of that was, yeah, I mean, we were just doing interviews with people. It was more like people I grew up with in Beverly Hills, touching upon that kind of upbringing, and if they went through similar situations as
Mm.
me, which they had, like dysfunction and all of that, and traumatic experiences themselves. Because Beverly Hills as a place is not like you bring your kids there to raise them in the school systems.
Hmm.
And a fun fact is immediately when they are out of school, everybody leaves. Like they want to go. And the exception to the rule, of course, or to my thing is people that have lived there for a long time. And that's, like Hollywood inbreeding or something. But yeah, we were filming a lot and doing a lot more essay type documentary filmmaking. And then that changed uh when I started to go a little bit mad. I was like, I can't. And I remember with Matthew, I was like, I don't know what we are doing, but it is boring and it is bad and we can't keep doing this. And he's like, and with his camera, he's like, I love it. I'm having fun. Like we're going to all these different places. And I'm like, no, we like this cannot be it. And this isn't it. Um, and so I got my head on straight, but and got started writing some scenes and started creating at least a roadmap for myself. And then I got hit by a car. I mean,
Mm.
honestly, that was like the catalyst for everything, is getting hit by that car at 35 miles per hour while crossing the street. um, and so after I got hit by the car, everything literally started to fall into place. um, but I started to realize, okay, so it really needs to be about what I've been trying to do. And so let's keep going. But
Hmm.
I was more focused. I was concussed and I looked like Sloth from the Goonies, I was told at least. But we kept going.
What was that like? You just
To look like Sloth from the Goonies. That was interesting. I always wanted to be another person, so
well, the accident itself, hit by a car at 35 miles per hour. That's like, that's insane to me. Like, and is there a point of that you just don't remember? You just remember waking up in hospital, or
so getting yeah, I remember in fragments. But basically what happened was I was about to film a scene the next day that I really, really wanted to shoot. I worked hard to schedule, and I had to go pick up socks for my nephew. He was out of socks, clean socks, and I was so happy that I found socks at this store. I thought they wouldn't have them. And I put on like headphones and I'm like listening to music that's saying like family's all that you need, love is all that you need. I'm dancing in the aisles. I'm so freaking happy that they got the socks. I'm gonna shoot the scene the next day. And I walk out and I saw the little Walkman sign go on. And I only point that out because that's a very vivid thing in
Mhm.
my head. And as I was crossing, one of that fragments is seeing the headlights on the side. And then I woke up. I was on the other side of the car, on the passenger side. And then from there, I got yelled at by the driver. It wasn't a hit and run.
Mhm.
And uh, that was interesting to be told, um, what are you doing? What are you doing? And just being told that repeatedly. Never spoken to her again. But everybody was rubbernecking and they were just staring. Yeah, they were just staring. And I was bleeding. I knew something was, I don't know if you can relate to this, but that feeling of familiar shock. Does
Yeah,
that,
I know exactly what you mean. Yeah.
can you elaborate a little bit? Because I, it's interesting to hear somebody say yes.
It's for me, it's kind of like, you're in a situation, even if you've never been in that situation, the feeling sort of almost reminds you of a particularly equal, maybe less traumatic sort of situation that you might have been in. The feeling is kind of relates to something you felt before, even if it's in a different situation.
Absolutely. And so if you were in that position, would you kind of be startled a little bit or kind of, like that? Or would you feel like, I mean, you're dissociating to some point, but at the same time, it's still, there's like your body's kind of going, we've been here before. It's like, it
Yeah.
wasn't, yeah, it wasn't it obviously it was scary, but in the moment, my body was kind of in flight or fight.
Hmm.
But at the same time, it was going like, I knew mentally, oh, I've been in this situation before.
Yeah.
And so crap. Oh, okay, so what do? We fight, let's go because we've done this before so many times. And but that's also strangely what's interesting about trauma. It's comforting to some degree. And a small degree, it's comforting to know, like, even though you get hit by a car, you wake up, you don't know exactly what has happened. Your body remembers so much. And it's going, at least with people who have gone through traumatic experiences, it's signaling to you how to survive, how to yeah, organize different things and move ahead. But anyway, so um I remember needing to get my phone. Speaking of how that fight or flight, needing to get my phone to call 911. And I remember saying too, like, I got hit by a car repeatedly. I was told by EMT that, like, just shouting at people, and people were just waiting there, not doing anything. And then I blacked out. I blacked out like so many times,
Mhm.
several times. And I called Matthew, and he said, "What happened?" I yelled, "I got hit by a car." And he, that kind of shrieking yell that everybody loves to remember. And who called? Actually, my nephew. Matthew called my nephew,
Mm.
my 8-year-old nephew. Huh? My sister's here. 4. Oh, he was 4. He was 4 at the time.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, because okay, so yeah, he was 4 at the time, or no, he's 5 actually. But and so Matthew called my nephew. My nephew freaks out and probably thinks I'm dead. And so he did, and he's just crying his eyes out. And he has his own phone, and he makes videos. He loves directing now, and as he's gotten older and acting. But he recorded himself crying, and he went, "I love you, Tata," which is my name for him. And, "I miss you, but bye." And he thought I was dead. So that's, Matthew's fault. It's not the driver's fault, it's Matthew's fault. But yeah, a lot is Matthew's fault, actually. That's how it is with us. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, resentment is like drinking a poison and waiting for Matthew to die.
Well, I love that though, because during the film, it's like you can kind of tell, like you said before, he was enjoying like every minute of it, and that kind of really translates into the movie as well, because it's like every moment is like a filmable moment for him, and you can just tell even in the movie he is absolutely loving it, even though there's no script at this point. You have the actors chasing you. Matthew's still there. He's like the sort of the grinding factor of everything, where he's just like, "This is great. We're getting some amazing stuff here."
I know. And it's like he really does have this air about him of being in his own world, of just like, not so much like, I'm just happy to be along for the ride, but more like, whatever you say goes, man. Like, hey, I'm like, yeah, this happy-go-lucky, super positive guy who really, he does make every situation happy. But he, even down, there's some stuff that, looking back in hindsight, everything in hindsight, made me laugh, where there's a scene, but a real moment that I watched my mom and my dad's wedding videotape, to get some inspiration to finally write. And that's very triggering to do. Nobody should do that, especially if one of your parents have passed and you haven't watched it in a while. And I ended up dissociating, because Matthew, and not blaming Matthew, but Matthew, they're looking back on it, does make me laugh. At one point, he's talking about how to open up the movie and what would be the beginning of the film. And he's saying, "So think about your mom. How did your mom pass?" And there's just one time where he goes, "Just keep," and he's talking and talking. He's like, "Just, how do you feel? How did she die?" And it's just like, so like, boom, boom, boom. Like, dude, you gotta ease up. But that's all in the film. And yeah, I mean, geez, talk about conversational. You're right. Your podcast is.
That's what I aim to do, but like what is amazing to me is the fact that such a traumatic experience in the car accident that you were in became such a pivotal part of
a miracle. Yeah,
absolutely, and it became such for lack of a better term, the driving force behind getting the filming. I didn't want to use that term, but
I had to hit the brakes at some point. What I was doing, I had to, because going full force,
Yeah,
and there had to be a full stop, you
that's
know.
it. And it definitely steered the movie in the right direction too.
It stared right into my head. Yeah. And I had problems in my head. So I just needed a little bit more to
Yeah.
get me to, get a little bit more focused and drive forward, right on.
Of course, but
Um,
like in these
no,
sort of
but you're right. You're absolutely right. It was to turn something that is really traumatic and 35 miles you could possibly die.
yeah, of course.
And I have titanium fused to my spine from a scoliosis surgery. Um, so I could have internal bleeding. I could have all different things happen to me. But to have that happen and then it be turned into resilience and a, a moment of actual a place, yeah, for a place for the movie
Hmm.
to really move forward and go.
Yeah.
That is very, very interesting to me.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things like in the film I find that almost to be quite poetic after that was you're on a Zoom call and you're cutting away the
Did
pieces
do
of
that.
dead skin, and but it almost seems to kind of tie in to the whole theme of facing your traumas one little bit at a time at the same time while you're cutting little bits off at every time. Was that done intentionally, or is that just something that I've maybe just kind of pulled out my ass here?
No, no. I would love to say if this was like everybody's favorite film of the year, I would love to say yes, everything was done intentionally because that would make me sound like a genius and I'll be hired for every job. Um, but no, I mean that in itself, like I was in recovery and after I got hit by the car and I spoke to my friend who gave Reverie and who went to he was my best friend in Beverly Hills when I was a kid. And now he's a doctor
Mhm.
because of the Beverly Hills school system that I was
There we
talking
go.
about. Yeah. And so I texted him and I said, this thing, because he was checking up on me all the time. And he was asking me, like, are you okay? What are your symptoms? And I would tell him, he's like, that's perfectly normal. Don't worry about it. And he was so sweet that he's like, okay, let's get on a Zoom and let's see what's going on with well, it was right here, your scab. And I recorded it because I knew at the time we weren't filming,
Mhm.
and I knew that that was like on an indefinite hold. And that dream kind of had stopped in some way. And I was also needing to document things at the time. So for legal purposes, somebody had hit me. And so, yeah, I recorded that and then I looked back at the footage later. And it's a lot of reflection
Mhm.
and with like the wedding tape as well. I always knew I wanted the wedding tape to be more in the film because you only see a tiny bit of it. And uh like near the end of the film and then it gets turned off and it goes into I was dissociating and crying and afterwards when I watched it the first time, and then I wanted to have the audience get like this experience of the actual tape being freely
Yeah.
shown. um but uh it was an idea in the edit to pull together both those things,
Mhm.
the Zoom and the wedding tape, because once I pulled myself back and looked at it, I was like, oh wow, it's sort of like without like the knowledge or the intention of it, what we're saying here is very true to life because there's narration going over it. But it's like you said, like one by one, kind of chipping away at those traumatic events without some sort of like major therapy session.
Yeah.
It was just more. Thank you for saying poetic, but it was more. it's still something I'm processing,
Of course.
a lot of that. So it's very interesting to hear your take on it.
Yeah, like I genuinely would have thought that it was done intentionally, just because the way it just fit so perfectly. And I suppose, like what you're saying, it's very true to one of the taglines of the film, where it's based on true and ongoing events.
That was
Because
intentional. That was,
yeah, of course.
yeah, that was intentional.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like the only reason I say that is because when you just mentioned that you're still kind of chipping away at these things, and like how would you say then the having made the film and albeit everything's still ongoing, like how would you say that having the film completed has kind of helped you sort of maybe not necessarily come to terms, but sort of be more comfortable with your traumas and helped you through that?
I think that no film can heal
Mm-hmm.
and traumas, or no filmmaking experience. That was one big thing about the movie that I wanted. So I may have not had intentions, I suppose, but I knew what I wanted to say,
Yeah, of
if that
course.
makes any sense. And maybe I associate intentions with people who are like too, they like kind of go too far into things. They're like, I want to, do this stylistic thing or pride themselves. Anyway, but I knew that I wanted to tell a story that pushes against the idea of somebody who sets out to do X,
Mm-hmm.
and what they get in return is, I feel better now. I set out to do this mission in order to heal from something, and then I feel a lot better. I did it. And then I also didn't want to go like the way of like the disaster artist, or some sort of thing of like, or I'm still here, the walking Phoenix mockumentary. I didn't want to go the way of that. I just wanted to go the way of making sure that movies, trauma, any of that, as much as movies and entertainment is ingrained in me, they don't heal. They don't fix anything. You in my experience, you have movies help you
Mm-hmm.
by relating to different characters, and you can project your own stuff. And one of the reasons why I say so little in this movie, in my opinion, is for the audience to project. A lot of the characters or actors in this film, they're so much more brighter and more colorful personalities than me, as if you were to compare us. And I remember the editor, she was like, "You're the main character." I'm like, "But that's sort of what we should do." And it doesn't, like, I'm lost. And I was certainly lost going through all of that. I didn't know what I was doing. As a director, you need to know what you're doing.
Yeah.
You need to, take responsibility, accountability. But I wanted to tap into something that it was, it was cathartic,
Mm-hmm.
in the sense that I was able to have freedom poking holes in myself, like just kind of like poke little holes and make fun of myself. Meaning, like, um, I come off a bit obsessive over Elizabeth in the film in the very beginning. And like, I have to get this film off, or the script off to her. I'm going to write it. And Matthew's saying, "You haven't written a word." And I'm like, "She's going to love it. And don't worry. But she'll know that. She'll know she'll love it soon." And I come off a little bit obsessive about her, but that was just me tapping into um what we kind of like. If Elizabeth is somebody who's an amazing editor and artist, and I regard her in that way. And so I see those edits and those amazing things, and I wanted to take that person, that little personality trait, I don't know what it would be, but that little facet of myself that would obsess over like a
Yeah.
certain that she's done, and go like, I know this is logically ridiculous. Why am I going back and watching that edit again and again and again and again, and going, wow, that's amazing. this is life. Like I helped co-raise a nephew with my sister. Like I've gone through enough stuff to know what the heck, movies are just movies. They're wonderful, but
Yeah.
they are just movies at the end of the day. And so, but I love taking that feeling and going, okay, I'm going to see that she posted on social media in real life a photo of us taken on the day that she told me you should write a movie based on your life. I'm going to incorporate that into the film
Yeah.
and say, look, she posted on social media. This means like everything's happening. And so that little poking fun at myself for saying that like a movie based on my life is going to be an IMAX. Nobody knows who I am. And so it's just like that kind of stuff was cathartic. And it was cathartic to focus on the cast uh and kind of give my love to them because they're being themselves in front of the camera. And for me to say that thing that you always do this, can you kind of like do a little bit more of that side of your personality? And because I feel like it calls for it here. And they would. And it would just be wonderful to see people you care about, like, their personalities come out and shine. But yeah, I mean, do you think that movies can heal?
Honestly, I wasn't expecting that question back, now I have to say.
You thought I was going to keep rambling.
But no, I have to agree with you. I have to agree with you. I think they can be, they can help, whether it be a distraction or there is an element of relatability that kind of, makes you sort of feel a little bit more at ease or comfortable in terms of accepting things that might have happened to you. But in terms of healing, I think that could be like an entirely different thing. I think there's like a fine line between overcoming and accepting, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's interesting because I'm sure a lot of people can say otherwise, right?
Mm-hmm.
They can say like, I watched this movie, it helped me overcome this portion of my life. But I've heard artists even say back to people who have commented that way of like, you did that, I didn't. Like I was the background noise that made you feel like
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is, movies can reflect what we're going through and we project onto them. And that's honestly, it's great. And it's a tool. It's a tool.
Yeah.
It could be a wonderful tool.
Yeah.
And sometimes it could be a horrible tool. But for this movie, it was certainly like having Savannah, as my sisters say, like, you need to go to therapy first before doing any of this. And her really pushing against it, which she did, still does. um, and she did actually, in fact, 2 nights ago. And so that is really refreshing for me because to watch back and go, yeah, because I wanted to depict it. I wanted to show a movie. I wanted to give a movie out there that showed somebody going in completely blind, like down the rabbit hole, somewhat manic, and going, I'm doing this anyway, because I need to heal. But really what you're doing is you're just escaping and you're just running away from things. And I did that all the time. I remember, I can't believe I'm telling you the story. I remember social workers were coming to our house when I was 5 years old. And I remember we all had to clean the house because social workers were coming. And my mom comes over to me and she goes, Janaé, did you clean your room? And I said, yeah, I did. And with my speech impediment, my baby voice. And she's like, okay. And she looks around, she sees like over, like in the corner, all of my trash is just pushed off to the side and it's hidden by like a poster. And you could look over the poster down. But I thought it was like invisible to everyone. And I'm like, it's gonna be fine. They can't see it. And they're like, you could literally look over and you could see all of it. Like you didn't clean anything up and just sweep it under the rug, but like right in front of us. So yeah, I mean, it's I don't know how I got there, but
I can relate though. I can relate. I've
yeah,
been there,
yeah.
100%
I mean,
been
that was so great about the film, though, the process of it, of going, I want to tap back into that
there.
because I think we still all have that to some extent if we had it in the first place. And I still compartmentalize. I still go, I'll deal with it later. I still go, I'm fine, I'm okay. And then all of the emotions are on my face while I'm saying it. But yeah, I wanted to tap into that and try to make it as universal as possible. And more me as a cipher, I suppose. But I don't know. I mean, what was your experience like? So I said I did what I had to do. It's for everybody else now. No.
Oh, of
No,
course.
but you said
And
you could relate to that. So on what level can you relate to that?
I
Having a
mean, like on the literal sense of just sweeping stuff into the corner and that's
oh,
it,
the literal
tidy.
sense.
That's what I mean.
Okay. So you're perfectly saying, okay,
Oh, well,
the
no.
medication is working. I understand.
Some days, some days.
Yeah, I hate those days where that's not even cool. All right. Shut up.
So, I just wanted to touch on as well your relationship with Elizabeth as well, especially, you mentioned just
Yes.
earlier how you sort of tweaked it in the movie to sort of come across as somewhat a bit more obsessive, but uh, in reality, it sounds though as though she has like a very very important role, like in your life as a friend, especially being the sort of the one person who, when she said to you about making a movie about your life, that was the sort of being like, okay, maybe I should, so like what sort of impact, like as a filmmaker and working in film and TV, has she had on you personally?
Oh wow. Well, I will backtrack and say, right my wrongs here. I do come off as obsessive in the film. That's the perspective of the comments I have heard from the crew. Like you come off as obsessive over Elizabeth, and in the very beginning. But when she found out there was no script, and I told her, she was pissed off. So I. Am I really obsessive or am I being pressured? No, I'm kidding. But no, I mean, really, it's like there is this interesting moment where we have a Zoom and there's this whole moment, the same with Elizabeth and I, and she's not happy that there is no scripts and that there hasn't been. And so, but she wants me to heal and she wants me to just, be able to do what I need to be honest with myself. So, um, yeah. And when I say obsessive, just like delivering something to her and going back to like my relationship with her, how I see her in terms of, well, I mean, we work together. I've always loved editing. Editing, I've loved it. I was editing videos when I was 17, and I I've always loved it. I think, the movie is definitely made an edit. And I'm one of those people. And sound. But I remember meeting her about like 7 years ago. And she told me, she's a very sarcastic person like I am. But she told me, first thing she said was, we met in a past life. And I went, huh? And she's like, we've met. We need to speak again. We speak after this. And then she just left. And I was like, I'm Janaé. Hi. And she's like, we've met in a past life. And I thought this woman's either screwing with me and like and we're on the same wavelength, or she is like totally mad. But I feel like it's the former. And so I'm going to go up to her and I'm going to, speak with her again. And from there, she I remember doing Zoom sessions with her. She helped give notes on a short film that I wrote and directed called Managed. And that was a satire on like Hollywood and different kind of like in the vein of like The Player meets like The Office,
Yeah.
which is, but um anyways, so I remember her like talking about, how to edit certain things and the way that she was speaking, and all projects are different, but it was eye-opening, just to hear that side of she works on so many great movies, and it comes down to, yeah, it's one of those things. I gotta be honest, like this is my real answer. It's really no surprise
Mhm.
because she she and I are friends. And when we do work together, when we have worked together, it's been amazing. But it's been one of those things of going, are you thinking what I'm thinking? Oh wow, okay. So we're on the same page on this, on this, on this. And with this film, like when we would be discussing editing notes and different things about the edit, we were surprisingly on the same page
Mhm.
throughout the whole entire way. And it just feels like a collaboration. I think it stems from the fact that we just have a rapport. And
Yeah.
she's also a very generous person and a wonderful human being. So she definitely supports women and all people. And she wants to uplift everyone around her. And I want to do the same. But I learned a lot from her, and I learned a lot from an assistant editor of hers on a couple of films that co-edited this film. And yeah, I mean, I learned like how to just basically, for this film, it moves quick. The cut, we really try to take everybody on a ride and make an immersive film. So yeah, without getting into any technical stuff, it's just the emotion behind it was the most important thing.
Mhm.
Making sure there was, and you're getting a cameo.
Oh.
Sure. This
Hello.
is my babe who's in the movie. Okay. Oh, and you're done? That's surprising. But yeah, the emotion behind it, the emotion, just make sure you are serious. Okay. Just make sure you are serious about your projects, but you don't have to be serious about yourself all the time, and make sure you're a good person. And that's just like the only thing that I keep going with. So, or the main thing, I should say.
Yeah, of
I didn't
course.
answer the question. I'm so sorry,
No,
Andy. I just
you always do not.
Yep,
You did. You did anyway. It's fine, of course. And
you
like,
got something in the edit. I'm so sorry. You're gonna have to like scrub. Wait, that's not good.
no, it's like I say, the tangents, the sort of everything is that's what all a part of it is. Is that's
Doesn't
why I
that
like doing
drive
it.
you crazy though when you're editing? I mean, you
No, like,
haven't this material like for like a week. You haven't seen it like endlessly, and or do you just have like an instinctual feel when you're editing where it's just like, yeah, don't need that. Boom. Okay.
oh no, like more often than not, like I'll not even edit because I'll not really feel like I have to. I just try to keep everything as natural as possible. Just full conversation, full flow, and everything. And plus, I like editing, but there are times it can be a little bit tedious, especially because I'm like full 100% self-produced, and it's like kind of sometimes I'd be
Yeah.
sitting up to like 1 o'clock in the morning, just be like, does this need
Mm.
it? Do more than what I
Yeah.
used to anyway.
So you're not thinking in terms of, I asked this question, what's a good sound bite for the answer? Necessarily, you're just
Just
trying to find
full,
some juice.
yeah, full conversation. Like, because that's the thing. I love the tangents. I just love the
You should keep
tangents.
listening then, and
Oh, yeah.
get
That's
turn the
it.
mirror on you.
That's it. Like that's part of why I love podcasting is because it's so like
It could be,
everything's so different. Like
yeah,
some are
it
very
could
kind
be
of
good
expressed answer.
messy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Some are very question and answer. Others are very just like, I mean, I've had people on before where I've literally um like had particular talking points that I've might noted down and not touched on a single one. It's just been a conversation, and that like, it's like they're fun. That's
Yeah.
all it is. That's all it is. It's fun. It's like it's exactly like you say. Take your project seriously, but you don't necessarily have to take yourself seriously.
No, I mean, if you do, it's gonna, it's gonna feel like death. And it's gonna feel so bad, and not gonna be able to do a thing.
Oh,
Um,
exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. But Janae, it has been an absolute pleasure having you on the show today. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you
But
for all of the insight to Dissociated Me. So in terms of the movie, is there a projected release for international
it has
audiences or?
been submitted, so we're here in December 3rd and 2025, and it's been submitted to film festivals. We haven't heard back from any of the film festivals yet, but we'll soon. So, and over like 2026, we will have a film festival run.
No, not
Amazing.
sleeping.
Amazing.
Actually,
Which film festival do you want to go to? Come here. Come here. Which film festival? He wants to go to a very specific film festival.
Okay.
It's the Dream Film Festival. He's seen it. What's it called? What's it called? The film festival.
I don't know.
You want to go South by Southwest, right?
I'll go soft.
It looks like I'm feeding him the line now.
No, not at all.
What is it?
I'll go South by West.
South by Southwest. Wait.
South by
South? No.
South by Left.
It's called South by Southwest. Yes.
South by Southwest. Amazing.
Yes, everybody knows it.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, honestly, Janae, best of luck with your film in the festivals. I am sure it will go far because it is a great movie, and I cannot wait for the wider audience to see it, as I'm sure it's the same.
Yes,
with
and
yourself.
the I don't knows or the IDKs are in it too.
Yes, the
Music
IDKs.
show, which amazing song. Something About You. Everybody should listen to it. It's so reminiscent of 90s,
Yep.
music, and I love 90s music, like
Shiny,
World Party
shiny.
and stuff like that. I was looking for the right song. I heard that, and Greg is incredible. The whole band is.
Oh, yeah.
So
They are a
yeah.
great bunch of lads. I had the pleasure of chatting to Greg as well, and that's actually what led us to having our conversation today as well. And so
Yes, yeah.
very grateful for that little network, and the song "Something About You" it fit in so perfectly into the scene you put it in as well. It really did.
The only edit that there was a lot of music edits, but I put my grandfather's voice. He's acting as a little boy in a radio play with Orson Welles.
Mhm.
It's right before it, and he says, "Oh, mother, it's wonderful to see you." And I love songs that have like a little, thing like that, and then it goes boom, da-da-dum, da-da-dum, and it's so great. Yeah, the whole movie has great music in it. At least in my opinion.
I know, I would agree, and like I say, I cannot wait for so many more people to see it, as well deserved as it will be. And it'll definitely be one to watch whenever it comes out. So once again, Janae, thank you so much for all your time today. It has been an absolute pleasure.
It's been an absolute pleasure too.
And there you have it. That brings us to the end of episode 72 of Behind the Camera with Andy Games. Special thanks to Janaé Rachel Ballot for sharing her story behind Dissociated Me and providing an amazing insight into the inception and making of the movie. With the film now submitted to festivals, I wish Janae the best of luck as her journey continues to unfold. Once again, if you'd like to stay connected and support the podcast, drop a follow, check out my Linktree for socials and more, and share the episode with a friend who you think would get a lot out of it. Until next time, take care, stay creative, and I'll see you soon. But until then, peace.